Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Street Talk and other stuff, welcome. Hey, 2 weeks till Christmas. We had snow. Okay, there's good and bad about this season, but hopefully the snow will melt. Hey, but hey, nice to have you here today. Very much appreciate you turning up. And if, by the way, my sister Kathy in Minnesota is watching this morning via the internet, I want to say, Kathy, I'm sorry that the Seahawks are just going to tromp the Vikings tonight. I just root for the Seahawks, okay? You'll feel much better about yourself later. Hey, but nice to have you. I got a good guest today. I got a good show, but just a couple of things. Do you know how many San Francisco 49ers it takes to change a light bulb? Well, none, because they got used to living in the shadow of the Seahawks. And then there was a Vikings fan, a Steelers fan, a 49ers fan, and a Seahawks fan that are all climbing a mountain together. And the Vikings fan insists that he's the most loyal fan, and he just wants to prove it. So he says, "This is for the Vikings!" And he jumps off a cliff. Well, this, of course, inspires the Steelers fan, and the Steelers fan goes, "Well, this is for the Steelers," and he jumps off the cliff. And the Seahawks fan says, "I'm the most strongest fan, and this is for everyone," and he pushes the 49ers fan off the cliff. Okay, all right, but one last thing. You know, a football fan took his blonde girlfriend to her first football game, and he played, you know, they watched the game, and he explained it to her, and at the end, he said, "How did you like it?" And she said, "Well, I don't know why everyone was doing all that violence just for 25 cents. And he said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Well, they kept yelling, 'Get the quarterback.'" Okay, sorry about that one, but hey, like I say, I do have a good guest for you today. This is something that's going to be very interesting. So Street Talk and other stuff, Mike Maddog Magnotti. You stick around, we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, did you know that the NCW Life channel is North Central Washington's go-to source for news? No matter how you prefer to view your news, NCW Life has you covered. Watch the evening news weeknights on TV, stream it, read it at ncwlife.com, or catch the latest news by following us on Facebook. Stay informed with local news, sports, weather, and shows featuring local people and events. NCW Life, a reflection and a spotlight of the communities we call home.
What's your Automocha emergency?
It's a Frappuccino mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull.
NCW Life Channel is proud to present the Spotlight on Business. We're going behind the scenes to bring you the story of local businesses throughout North Central Washington. How did they get started, and why are they so successful? We'll answer these and other questions each week with Spotlight on Business, Sundays through Fridays on the NCW Life Channel.
Okay, we are back. Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti. And I wanted to say, back in New Jersey, when I was going to early elementary school, before the holidays, this time of year, our teachers would always have us do art projects for our parents for Christmas presents. Of course, what that meant was you'd make a clay ashtray or a clay pencil holder, a lump of clay you just poked holes in. Now, for us Christian kids who were celebrating Christmas, we always had to wait because they would do the Jewish kids beforehand for their Hanukkah presents. Now, this was just normal back then because we had such a large Jewish population back east that, you know, everyone knew what Hanukkah was. But out here, not so much, okay? So I wanted to fix that. I wanted to help expand our cultural knowledge today. So I have invited my new friend, Professor Alex Taub from Wenatchee Valley College, who is a professor of anthropology.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That, as of taping, yes.
Okay. Because you never know. You may show up and you may have a note in your office that says, please come see me, you know. Okay. But thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Good, good. Now I wanted someone who was from the Jewish community, who was an expert on Hanukkah, who would help everyone learn about what Hanukkah was, because it's an important holiday and it's something.
Well, you do know what an expert is, right?
Yeah, somebody who's 50 miles from home and carrying a briefcase.
No, X is an undefined quantity and a spurt is a leak under pressure.
Okay, I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not even going to pretend I understand what he just said. But okay.
It's a loose pipe.
Okay, thank you. Remember who you're talking to here, okay?
Okay.
I'm not one of your constituents or colleagues. I'm just some guy from the street, all right?
We're all
No,
some
really,
guy from
I
the
appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your connection with the Jewish community here.
My name's Alex Taub. I was born in Seattle and grew up all over the state of Washington. My mom taught at UW, my dad worked for the Navy, and they also had a farm in Grandview, Sunnyside.
Really?
So
Okay.
we were all over the state. And my father was very active in the Jewish community. He was a Sunday school teacher. He was a cantor or singer for
he's a cantor.
for our congregation, which of course means that neither I nor my brother can hold a tune in a bucket. So
Now explain, you're going to have to explain what a cantor is now.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Okay, a cantor is a person who helps a rabbi lead a service, but they do it by leading the songs.
Right.
Because there is not a requirement to be a rabbi that you have to be able to hold a tune. And so the congregation I grew up in, our rabbi was notorious for the fact that he couldn't.
Yeah.
He's so notorious, there's still a cartoon of him singing off key back at the school where he was trained.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so my father's cantorial duties was to sing loud enough so no one could hear the rabbi.
Okay, but a cantor is a lay person who's kind of like a worship leader?
It can be a lay person,
that-
they can also be a trained person.
Can they? Okay, all right.
But, so my father was very involved. I went to public school during the day and then religious school in the evenings.
Every day?
Not every day. Wednesday night was during high school, and Tuesday nights when I was younger. And so we were brought up in semi-educated.
Sure.
I would not say that I am an expert because, to be perfectly honest, every family has their own traditions.
Sure.
And we were just, as a matter of fact, over at a member's house, and his tradition for how to do certain, which order to do things in was completely different from mine. It's like, well, it's his house, let him run things his way.
Yeah, right.
He's wrong, but we'll let him do it his way.
But that what your experience is familiar with what I grew up with. 'Cause
Yeah.
my Jewish friends, they went to Hebrew school
Yeah.
twice a week. So
Yes.
Catholic kids went to CCD or whatever,
Right.
and us Presbyterian kids eventually, I can't remember what we did.
So we had Sunday school, and then we had Tuesday night, or and then, as I said, in high school, I went to Hebrew high school on Mercer Island. That was a cultural experience. Let's not go there. I was a letdown to the rest of the student body. I was the class president, and I drove my mother's station wagon. Remember, all these kids come from Mercer Island and Bellevue,
Oh, okay,
and I
all right.
drove a station wagon. But on the other hand, I could carry the equipment and the supplies.
Sure.
They had a convertible.
Yeah, right. Now, was that with the Hebrew high school? Was that on Mercer Island?
It was on Mercer Island,
all
yeah.
right.
And so when my wife and I got married, we went back to Ellensburg and we got involved in the community down there. And I fell asleep at a board meeting and woke up and found out I was president. Because that's how they selected.
So the Jewish boards work the same as everybody.
Yeah.
He's not here. Let's appoint him. So
No, I was there. I just wasn't paying attention. I asked
Okay.
what just happened. They said, "Congratulations, Mr. President." We moved up here when my wife started working for Douglas County, and then I became the president up here for the Jewish community for 3 years.
Okay.
I stepped down, handed it over to somebody else, and then my wife took it over about 3 years ago. And so my wife is very good at organization, and but does not like having a stage presence. We just did an interfaith rally down at the PAC,
Right.
and she had to be the forward face, and halfway through it, she's like, "Here's the script, you take it." It's like, I know the script, I wrote it.
All right,
She's
so
like,
what was the rally for?
the rally was to try to demonstrate that the community, not just the Jewish community,
Right.
but all the multi-faith community, is united against the hatred which
Sure.
is currently, specifically this was about the shooting in Pennsylvania, where 9 people died, and 4 people were severely injured, including 1 or 2 police officers.
Sure.
And
I believe that was the worst case of anti-Semitic violence that we've had in the United States. Is that
on record.
On record.
On record. It's hard to say because now we keep records, as you know, on everything. You've
Sure.
been a cop, you've seen the size of the report form. I mean, you have to document what you had for lunch before a DUI.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we didn't document things nearly as accurately. So I'm hesitant to say that it is the worst, but in recent history, yeah, it was the worst. And things like this have been going on. I mean, we like to ignore it, but things like this happen. The increased amount of hate graffiti that shows up.
Yeah.
My son recently had his homework tagged by somebody who drew a
really?
swastika on it.
Yeah.
We tried to we had him talk to the teacher, and we turned it into a learning experience for the kids.
Yeah.
But this is something that we're negotiating. I mean, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. Well, the history of the persecution of the Jewish people, particularly in Europe, is horrendous.
It is.
You ever read a book called Diaspora by Werner Keller?
Yeah.
I read that years ago when I was in college. I mean, it's
It's
horrible.
diaspora, by the way.
So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
I appreciate that.
I'm used to it. I'm a college professor. I'm used to students mispronouncing things and me correcting them, and 2 days later them coming in going, "We were both wrong." I want my extra credit now.
Cool.
But no, I mean, there has been religious persecution against Jews, but also, let's face it, the religious persecution in Europe, it's also against Christians from Christians.
Well, true.
I mean, the entire 30-year war, the entire, so I tried not to emphasize overly much just that's a Jewish experience. I try and focus, and that's what the rally was about, trying to bring people forward to this is a national issue,
Right.
not just one group. And to paraphrase or misquote Ben Franklin, because he was talking about something completely else, "Gentlemen, we had better hang together or we shall surely hang separately."
Yeah, right. I do remember him saying that.
And
I wasn't there personally when he said it, but I read it somewhere.
he was talking about something else, but it's a good quote. Let's steal it.
So how big is the Jewish community here in this area? So
We've got about 15, 20 families
Really
who
cool.
show up on to occasional regular events.
Mm-hmm.
We just had the Hanukkah celebration at one member's house, and we had about 20 people there. Based on the number of stupid gifts that got exchanged, and every group has that gift exchange. Don't give us that look. Okay, we all have that gift exchange where we're trading off things that we got last year at that gift exchange. One of your friends likes to give out the, I got it this year, the Prozac Breakfast of Champions
that
t-shirt.
T-shirt, right? Exactly. Yeah, my buddy Jim.
So no, we had the gift exchange. So there were about 20 people there.
Okay.
But we get together. The 2 major holidays we get together on are Passover, which is in the spring, and Hanukkah in the fall, in the winter. And my house, where we have the Passover Seder, we can have anywhere from 25 to 30 people.
Really? Okay.
Which is really interesting, trying to get it into a house that size.
Yeah,
but
would imagine. But maybe we'll talk about that in the future. But
Not a problem.
Okay, but Hanukkah. Now,
Hanukkah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't have you last week because last week is when Hanukkah actually begun, and last night was the last night of Hanukkah.
But
Okay.
fortunately,
So.
But fortunately, in Judaism, the day starts at sundown.
Okay.
So we are still on the last day of Hanukkah.
Okay, great, cool, good, thank you. All
Not a
right.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was being interviewed for something completely different last week.
Okay, well, tell us about what is Hanukkah? What is this, you know,
Hanukkah,
give us the history of it.
Hanukkah
The
started,
origins.
one of the things I find very interesting is in the Catholic Bible, they have the Book of the Maccabees,
Right.
which isn't in the Jewish Bible.
Right, right.
But Hanukkah comes out of that where when Alexander the Great conquered, well, most of the known world at that point in time, he left his generals in charge. And Antiochus was left in charge of Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, the entire Judea, that area. And Alexander the Great himself was very religiously tolerant. As long as you weren't a military threat to him, he didn't care. And so he was greeted as a liberator, actually, by the Jewish community when he came in, because he was overthrowing the Assyrians, who were not so open-minded. The general who was left in charge was Antiochus, and his great-grandson or grandson decided that he had to one-up all of his predecessors, and so he insisted that his entire kingdom had to be Hellenic, had to be Greek pagan for that time. And so he desecrated the temple, brought in a statue of Alexander the Great, something which Alexander himself would never have done, and said, you have to bow down to this idol.
This was the temple in Jerusalem,
This is the temple in Jerusalem.
And time-wise, this was in the intertestamental period, the 400 years between the Old and the New Testament.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And so actually it's about 175, 165 before the Common Era, so right halfway in there. And a group of Jews were led by the Maccabee family, decided to have a little guerrilla warfare, basically insisting that they weren't going to do this. And the miracle is that the great miracle is the fact they were able to survive the guerrilla warfare long enough that Antiochus died, and when the next one came along, he just said, forget it, this is not worth it. And so they were able to come out of the hills, they went to rededicate the temple.
Well, let's pause there, okay, because we're getting up to the interesting part, all right? But we need to take a break.
Not a problem.
But okay, I am with Professor Alex Taub, Professor of Anthropology at Wenatchee Valley College. We're talking about the celebration of Hanukkah, which is something many of us aren't that familiar with, but it is a very important part of you know, Jewish tradition, culture, and history, and celebration time.
It's a celebration time.
So, dreidels, potato latkes.
Grease, fat.
Exactly.
Yes, food.
But hey, we need to take a break, but we're going to be back with Professor Taub in a minute, but stick around, we'll be right back. So.
Collins Fashions has your lifestyle in mind. Casual to special occasions, head-to-toe styling, foundations to shoes, jewelry, scarves, handbags, awesome gifts too. Denim brands from Liverpool, Not Your Daughter's Jeans, French dressing, all fits and sizes. Slacks from Joseph Ribkoff, Renoir, Tribal, and Elliot Lauren. Easy care and flattering. Stylish sweaters from Icelandic, Curio, and Tribal. Great selection of cashmere sweaters and scarves too. We always have you in mind at Collins Fashions in downtown Wenatchee.
Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house, featuring great family dining in downtown Chelan. We've got burgers, pub fare, and the best barbecue around. Try one of our award-winning sauces made fresh here in-house. So grab the whole gang and come on down. Stormy Mountain Brewing. Beer, barbecue, friends, and beer.
If you are looking for dependable car service and repair, visit the good guys at Quick Lube and Tune. They've been keeping cars and trucks in the Wenatchee Valley running smooth for 35 years. Quick Lube and Tune is your hometown shop for a 10-minute oil change, complete tune-ups, alignments, brakes, mufflers, air conditioning service, and more. Get more life out of your vehicle by bringing it to the local guys you can trust at Quick Lube and Tune on South Wenatchee Avenue.
Eastern Washington. It's a great place to call home and a great time to own a home. It's the ideal place to lay down roots for your family and your future. Gisa Credit Union thinks Eastern Washington is a great place to own a home too. That's why we offer all kinds of home loans with personal attention every step of the way. we're your home. For home loans, we're Gisa Credit Union.
Okay, we are back. Again, I'm speaking with Professor Alex Taub, Professor of Anthropology from Wenatchee Valley College. We're talking about Hanukkah, which is ending tonight. But
Yes.
when I say ending tonight, what does that mean? When did it start?
It started 8 days ago, but again, our days start at sundown.
Right.
So technically, today is the 8th day of Hanukkah, though the observation was last night, and my son was already lamenting this morning, darn, it's over. We were joking during the break about the idea that, you know, kids get gifts for 8 days, and my son is like, oh, you know, that's over. But let's be perfectly honest here. The first night, he gets chocolate coins.
Okay.
And a dreidel.
Okay.
And we'll talk about a dreidel in a little bit. And then the second night, it's usually, the joke is batteries. And then you build up,
Yeah,
and so he's been building up his Minecraft collection.
Oh, cool.
And coding books and things. So he's really happy about that. Now, I believe we were talking about the history.
Yeah. Now, again, this celebrates the retaking and rededication of the temple
Yes.
after it had been defiled by who was the
The
general?
Assyrians.
The Assyrians.
Okay, first the Assyrians, and then by Antiochus,
Okay.
who he's a general, but that's just because his grandfather was a general.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the same way that Cleopatra was a pharaoh, because
Yeah, she was born into it.
she was born into it. And so they went to rededicate the temple, and the miracle that we tell the children is that there was only enough holy oil for one day, and there is in the holy temple a light which is supposed to be lit continuously,
the
constantly.
candelabra, right.
It's called the Ner Talmid, the light of life, and there was only enough oil for one day, so they lit it. But it was going to take 8 days to sanctify, to create new holy oil. And by some miracle, it lasted 8 days.
Right.
And so we celebrate for 8 nights, lighting one additional candle for each night. And so last night, we had the entire candelabra, the menorah, lit with 8 candles and 1 helper candle, which is a shamat. And so that is the big night. And one of the things that we like to do here in the greater Wenatchee area is we have a member of our congregation who has a wonderful room where there are windows on both sides. And so when we light the menorahs on the 8th night, or this year we did on the 6th night, the lights reflect back between the windows, back and forth, and so you get this echoing of candlelight going on in the room. And so that's just one of those nice things. And then, yeah, from the kids' perspective, here in America, we do give gifts, partially because the kids sit there and go, well, my friends are getting gifts for Christmas. But traditionally, you would give donuts or you give fry foods to recognize the oil miracle, that the oil lasted 8 days. And to quote Rugrats, the miracle is that we've been eating these fried foods for so long and we're still alive?
Okay, so what's a dreidel? Okay.
Okay, a dreidel is a 4-sided top. It's a toy that we use in Hanukkah. It has 4 letters on it.
Hebrew characters.
Hebrew characters.
Yeah.
In everywhere in the world except Israel, it's Nun Gimel He Shin, which stands for Nesgadol Hayasham, a great miracle happened there. If you're in Israel, it's Nesgadol Hayapo, a great miracle happened here. And the traditional story is that these were used by the Maccabees originally to teach Hebrew, to teach Torah portions, to teach important lessons. And so anytime that someone would show up, they would just tell the government inspector, oh, no, this is just a game children play. And it would be a way that could be taught in a hidden manner. I don't know when really the dreidel started, but for any of you who've had to go sit through that song, and I am terribly sorry, dreidels made out of clay are a bad idea. When he was telling his story about the ashtray, I was sitting there going, please don't say you made a clay dreidel.
No,
things are useless.
I don't remember anyone ever making a clay dreidel, but look, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Okay, we got to take another break, and then we're going to come back and say goodbye to Dr. Taub, but
Professor.
Professor Taub. You're not a doctor?
No.
I'll promote you. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Taub. Okay, but hey, Street Talk and other stuff. You stick around, we'll be right back. So.
I'm Jenny Rojanasatian, and this is Guate TV. Every week we will be bringing you a first look at North Central Washington business, tech, and education news. You'll hear from local influencers and innovators who live right here in the Valley. Together, we'll discuss hot topics, current events, and resources that can support your business, our schools, and this community. Join me every week, and let's get inspired.
Only one country could build a truck like this. Designed in California, engineered in Michigan, tested in Arizona, and assembled in Mississippi. Powered by Cummins of Indiana. The all-new Nissan Titan. It's an American classic. Is it on your list? Come down and see us at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee.
Hey everyone, did you know that the NCW Life channel is North Central Washington's go-to source for news? No matter how you prefer to view your news, NCW Life has you covered. Watch the evening news weeknights on TV, stream it, read it at ncwlife.com, or catch the latest news by following us on Facebook. Stay informed with local news, sports, weather, and shows featuring local people and events. NCW Life, a reflection and a spotlight of the communities we call home.
Okay, we're back. We're talking with Professor Alex Taub, a professor of anthropology at Wenatchee Valley College. We're talking about the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, which ends tonight.
Yes.
But it's cool. Festival of
Yes.
Lights. It celebrates the miracle of the rededication and repurification of the temple,
Yes.
where they thought they only had 1 day's worth of oil, and they needed 8, but the oil lasted the 8
Yes.
days. So that's the miracle that we attribute to the holiday. So.
There are many miracles, but for me, the greatest thing is the delight in the children. The delight of, you know, during the rest of the year, don't play with lighters, don't play with candles, don't play. Hey kid, you want to play with a whole?
We get to do it 8 nights in a row?
We get to do it 8 nights in a row, and you get to do the whole thing. And even though my son, he's always afraid he's going to get the wax on his hand, he still looks forward to it. He's still delighted by it. And it's just, it's a wonderful break in the start of the winter season.
Sure.
And so we have friends over, we have family over. Yeah, we have the latkes, we have the potato pancakes. Now, the one question you haven't asked me yet, which I'm actually somewhat surprised at, is what's anthropology?
I don't know. Tell us real quick. We gotta.
Anthropology is the study of human beings, how we became the way we are, and then how we solve our problems.
I
as
thought it was
groups.
something like that. I thought it was looking into the human condition. So.
It basically is, yes.
Okay, all right.
But it just everyone is like, oh, you're an anthropology. What's that? So basically, but no, and it does tie into the Hanukkah celebration, because when I look at other religions, when I look at other cultures, how do they choose to celebrate the darkest period of the year? And the Jewish tradition is we not only light the Hanukkah, the menorah, we put it in the window so that people can see the light.
Right.
Because, and I mean, you have similar things in Christianity where you have your houses decorated. I mean, I live up in Leavenworth. We all have our houses decorated.
Mine doesn't get decorated anymore because I'm getting too old to be climbing that ladder.
Oh, it has nothing to do with getting decorated.
My grandson is too lazy. So.
No. It's Leavenworth. We just leave them up.
Okay, that's true. All right, but hey, Professor Taub, thank you very much.
Pleasure's mine.
You know, we may have you back to talk about the Passover Seder, you know, around springtime. But thanks for being here. But hey, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti tonight, 5:30, I believe, the Seahawks play the Vikings. You stick around. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.